for the late start. Thank you for being here. Welcome you to the Payson City Council meeting for October 5th, 2022. And according to the clock here in the council room, it's 6:05. So we'll start with a prayer. I've asked Robert Mills, our planning director, to come and open this meeting with prayer.
Our Father in heaven, we are very grateful for the opportunity that we have to be here this evening. We're grateful for the blessings that we enjoy as being part of this community. Heavenly Father, we pray for thy Spirit to please be with us, that we can speak freely and speak civilly. And Heavenly Father, we pray for our council and mayor that they can be guided in their decision-making. And we pray for the residents of our community. And we would ask a special blessing that we will continue to receive moisture for our needs, and that thou would please bless us in that. We thank thee for all that we have, and we recognize thy hand in all things. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Robert. I've asked Councilman Brent Christensen to lead us in the pledge.
Please rise. Please pledge with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Brett. I would like to acknowledge that Linda Carter has got some personal time that she's want to do tonight. Had a conflict. Also, we do have two council members online. Is that true? Right? Council Postcard and Council Beecher. Are you there?
I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. We'll go ahead and start with the
Council Postcard is here.
Got it? Okay. B, council agenda. Number one, approval of the September 21st, 2022 city council minutes, and then a proclamation, Fire Prevention Week. If there's no council, I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda for September 21st, 2022, and the proclamation for the Fire Prevention Week.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion has been seconded. Roll call votes, starting with Council Hyatt.
Yes.
Council Christensen.
Yes.
Council Beecher.
Yes.
Council Postcard.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to C, petitions. Communities that Care, Mayor's Youth Recognition Award. Kim.
Addison, come on up. You're first. So Addison used to live in my neighborhood. So in my mind, Addison's still like this big. She's not a high school senior, so. Because we moved out of that neighborhood. So I'm like, when I saw her name come across and that she was a senior, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm getting old. So this is Addison Roberts, and she is a senior at Payson High School. And this is what they had to say about her. Addie is such an amazing help here at Payson High School. She has a great attitude and is always willing to be of assistance in whatever way possible. She helps out in the front office and is really, really great. We are lucky to have her here at the school, and we will miss her when she leaves. And that was, the write-up was by Vicki Davis. So congratulations. And next one is Bentley. Is Bentley here? This is Bentley Myers, and he goes to Payson Junior High. So Bentley is always friendly and helpful to everyone. He focuses on the positive and is always willing to participate in class. He has a passion for ships and loves to show off his skills by drawing them. And he's really good at drawing them. Bentley is a joy to teach and can tell students, and you can tell students really enjoy being around him. Bentley is thoughtful, he is involved with student government and is an all-around nice guy. He's kind and considerate of others and is willing to help at the drop of a hat. Bentley helped with the organization of the first assembly of the school year here at Payson Junior High. He did a great job of leading by example and by fulfilling his tasks and getting things done. At the end of the assembly, he was the first one to volunteer to clean up chairs and organize the tables for lunch. He stayed longer than any of the other students and wanted to make sure that we had enough hands to get things done. So congratulations, Bentley. And our next one is Cambry Theobald. Did I say that right? Good. Cambry is from Mount Nebo Middle School. And Mr. Evans nominated her. And he said that Cambry is an exceptionally hard worker. She strives for excellence by asking questions and working through struggles. She's always willing to help her peers and sets a good example for them. And Mrs. Stoneman said she is hardworking and a dedicated student. And Mr. Hanks or Mrs. Hanks told me that Cambry is a great student. She participates in class, works well with others, completes and turns in her assignments on time. And Mrs. Thompson is her PE teacher and she loves having her in class. Mrs. Miller, so like she had a lot of her teachers respond. Mrs. Miller said that Cambry is enthusiastic. She takes on a challenge proactively. Mr. Bird, who is a student counselor, said, Cambry is a wonderful young woman. She's a member of our school's Hope Squad last year and continues to be someone who looks out for others and tries to make everyone feel welcome and cared about. So congratulations, Cambry. Okay, parents, if you want to come up and take pictures, you can come stand at the front.
As many council as there usually is, but there it's very, that's right. That's right. Take your hands off.
Okay, also, we did get word that maybe there's some scouts that were wanting to come and be recognized. We don't have your names, but we certainly would like to recognize you if there's a group of scouts here. If they're here, please let us know. Apparently not. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to number 2. This is a public forum. Anyone can speak on items that are not on the agenda. Your comments to 3 minutes or less, and please let us know who you are if you would. So if there's anyone here or online that would like to address the council on a subject not on the agenda, love to hear from you. Come on up. Come on up. You bet. Right up to the, love to have you come talk to us. Please remember to identify yourself.
What's that?
Please remember to identify yourself.
I'm Tracy Ellison. I live down by Mountain View Hospital and would love for the council to consider this painting of Memorial Park and band concerts. Would love to donate it to the city if you want, or vote on it or whatever. It'd be my privilege to donate it.
Okay, one more time. What were you wanting to donate?
This picture.
Oh, the picture. Oh, wonderful.
Over there, yeah.
Oh, the picture, a painting. Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Dave, what would we have to do?
Oh, we accept that. That's awesome.
Yeah, be glad to.
Wonderful.
We donated another one at Petite Need during the winter time, and I appreciate it. So,
Do you have a place that you would like to have it displayed?
no, you decide that.
Okay,
I think we could display it in here for everybody to see for a while, and then maybe we could put it.
have it on an easel or something like that.
Sure.
Okay,
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
It's all yours, but
Thank you, thank you.
I just wanted to say that you know, we love to give back, but we think that we've been the huge benefactors by moving our family to Payson 28 years ago. We came with our 7 kids and we've loved it here and we've loved everything about Payson. We've enjoyed the community feeling along with the neighbors that we have and the good feelings and we love the schools our children have gone to and now our grandchildren are enjoying a lot of the events and the fun things that Payson has to offer. And we just are grateful that we've been able to live here as long as we have.
Well, thank you. You've seen a lot of growth over your time down in that part of the city.
I just have one question.
Okay.
Where's the water coming from with all the building? I'd like to answer.
Well, we do have, and I'll just tell you a real short answer, you know, we do have the PI water that we get from Strawberry. And recently we participated in the CUP project, which will bring a whole bunch more water. Unfortunately, water is getting more and more expensive, but that's a short answer.
Well, I appreciate all you do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Everybody can see it. Anyone else here in the council chambers? Anyone online, Kim? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public forum and move on to staff reports. Staff, anybody? Come on up, Tracy.
Mayor, council, public, I just have a couple things to report on. First, in the Parks Department, we've just been doing a lot of trimming along the trails. This is the time of year we've gotten a lot of overgrowth and we're trying to, so if you get comments about that, we're trying to prune a lot of the trees, trim trails, different things like that, get ready for winter. We did have a big golf event that I wanted to mention. We had the Payson Economic Development Golf Tournament. I just wanted to thank the members of the committee there, which are Dave, Brian, Linda, Larry, Chris, and the mayor. They work all year long on that, and they do just such a good job to get the people there that we want. And I thought it was a great day, a good event. We kind of missed on the Leafs. Looks like maybe next week, but I think everyone had a great time. So thank you for everyone there. And then finally, I'd like to thank Kent Fowden and his guys with the parking lot at the golf course. It's been, I mean, they've been just so helpful. Yeah, just really done everything they could to help us out. Ryan and Steve and Kent, they, anything we asked for, they would make it work. So, and it's about 95% completed. So just thank you to them. Thanks.
And Tracy's being very humble. He's a very, very, very big part of that golf event. It would not happen without his expertise. It really wouldn't. And ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, this golf event, the main focus of it is for economic development. And every year we do get some very good leads for businesses to come to our fair city to help our residents not have to go so far to shop for items or restaurants. And this year was no exception. We've got some very good leads. So thank you, Tracy. Okay, anyone else? Online again? Okay. Come on up.
Mayor and council. I also want to thank the artist. I work at the Petite Neat Museum and your painting is beautiful. It's in the main lobby and it's hanging way up high above the office. So we appreciate that. It's lovely. So, and I'm sure this one will also be lovely here at the city office. So when I saw that during the art show during Onion Days, I thought, ooh, wonder if we'll get to share that with everyone too. So thank you. I just wanted you guys to know that the Quilt Show is going on this week. So we've had a little over 200 visitors just to the Quilt Show. And so it'll finish out Thursday through Saturday this week. They're there from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Thursday and Friday. And then Saturday will be 10 to 4 p.m. And there's a dinner on Friday for those who are working with the committee. So I wanted to do a special thank you to the our electrical department. They've been working really hard. I don't know if you've driven by with the park tags. We're getting a new marquee out there at the museum, which will be wonderful. So they've been putting in a lot of time this week, putting the new electricity coming through to the marquee. And then we're kind of, we eventually want to get new lights through that walkway too. So we're kind of doing the base work for that. So they're putting in all the electrical. So when we do get those lights, it'll be ready to go. So they're doing a great job. We appreciate them. This month we have just a little information what's going on at the museum. Of course, October, we're going to have 3 different ghost chaser groups come through. And this is fun. They're 3 separate groups. They sell tickets on their own for this, and they pay us a couple of $100 for using the museum. So it's a win for everybody on that. The Petite Neat is having its big band dance on October 28th. And this is it, help with the mayor, and it's a free band, and it's really fun. Big band music, and it's from 7 to 9 p.m. and it's free. So thank you.
Thanks, Janine.
Thank you, Janine. And she mentioned the park tax, and there is another thing on the agenda, but ladies and gentlemen, that park tax is a very, very useful tax that we've been able to build our pickleball courts and cover our playground equipment in the Memorial Park and complete some trails, and we'll get some lights that will help that be a show place on the north side of Petite Neat. So just a little educational information about that. Any other staff? Okay, we'll move on to council reports, starting with Council Hyatt.
I don't have anything.
Okay, easy enough. Council Christensen.
All right, a couple of things. Doug and Irene Lamb called me in the past week and wanted me to thank the council publicly for their honor in the parade as grand marshals, and how grateful they are for the opportunity to do the trains every Christmas at the museum up at Petite Neat, and the draw that it has there. Irene was sharing a story with me of a lady who'd bring her grandkids up 3 and 4 times a week, and that was what she'd do for them for their Christmas present. Didn't have funds for anything else, but that was the way she was filling that gap, was to make sure that they were happy, and the little kids knew when they changed anything and how wonderful it was and how great that experience is. And if you haven't had a chance to ever go up and see Doug's trains, it's well worth the time. It's a fun little thing. And I look at it and think he puts this all together and tears it all down every year. It's amazing to me. The other thing that I have got, just in one of my conferences for work, they were talking about color schemes and the importance of making sure that the colors are exactly the way they need to be and things like that. And I know that with Payson's rebranding, we have specific colors. I know that Representative Welton has brought it to my attention 2 or 3 times that he loves the colors, but thinks we need to stay true to Payson colors. So if we're ordering attire and things like that, we need to stick to the ones that are approved, and they should have specific numbers associated with those colors, your CMYK numbers or whatever they're called, that you can pick those specific colors. And I think that's something that's important so that we get consistency. I can talk a little bit more. I'm getting a confused look from some people, but yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, I don't know. He keeps bringing it to my attention, so I'm just passing it on. Otherwise, just shout out to the staff and all that they're doing. I know that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with developments, things like that, making sure that the roadways are in right, the sidewalks are all in. Living in the old part of town, putting in new sidewalks, and I'm like, well, this doesn't make any sense. Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? And as I've watched these come to fruition and everything being put in, I can now see that, yeah, there is a lot of wisdom to a certain grade away from the side, the houses and things. And I'm grateful for those engineers to make sure that water flows the right direction and is caught in the right catch basins to disperse itself. So anyway, thank you to them. All right, Mayor, do you want me to pass this to Bob? Bob, do you have anything to say?
While everybody was up at the Economic Development Golf Fund, there was some dedicated city employees that were at the fire station making headroom for the new fire truck. And I'd like to single out Steve Spencer. That was an all-day project, and Steve stayed with us all day long. And as a result, they've got a bay now that they can pull the new fire truck in. So Steve, I just really appreciate what you do and behind the scenes all the time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Council Beecher.
I don't have anything to add tonight.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay. We'll go ahead and go to number 4, presentation of new police officer and oath of office. Chief Bishop.
Mayor, thank you. We'd like to have Officer James Cox, we call him Jim, but his name's James, come on forward, and Judge Jewel. Is he here still? Oh, there he is. The man in black. Jim comes to us from the Department of Corrections. He's worked up at the prison since 2016, and we're happy to have him and his wife and 4 kids join us in our department. So thank you for being supportive of our department and our new hires, and our judge for swearing him in. So thank you.
All right. Go ahead and repeat after me. I, and then state your full name.
Hi, James Telford Cox.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Utah,
the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the laws and ordinances of Payson City,
and the laws and ordinances of Payson City,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Good? You're good?
Jim, make sure you wave at Linda, otherwise she'll get after you.
She'll let you know. Okay, we'll go on to D, action items. Public hearing / resolution amendments to the fiscal year 2022, 2023 budget. Kathy, you ready?
While she's walking up here, I failed to mention that I love the fact that the end of the term is coming so quickly and all of Mr. Morel's students are trying to save their grade and showing up to this meeting. It's good to see the youth out there and see them coming in and getting an opportunity to see the grassroots of what makes the wheels in the world go around. So I always like to welcome you, and this one definitely has a large one because this is the last city council before the end of the term. So.
And Remington. Okay, Kathy.
Okay, ready? We have a handful of budget requests or budget adjustment requests. The first one is the RV park expenditure. It's for $12,000. And in the RV park, there was a high pressure valve that blew. And so we're gonna get that replaced, and we're gonna ask Salem to see if they'll pay part or all of that. So, sorry. The second one is we had 2 trucks that came in a little higher than we budgeted for, and that'll total 18,505. The next thing is lobbyists to help with the interchange and other projects in the city, and that's for 150,000. The library received a couple of grants, one for 6,000, one for, excuse me, $6,417, and they're going to use that for audiobooks and also office furniture. The recreation department was able to sell some surplus bleachers, and they'd like to use those funds, and that is for $4,000. And then we're going to have a transfer of funds between departments, and that's for $25,000. Janine was able to get 2 grants this year, one for the salmon supper and one for the onion days. The salmon supper grant was for $11,400, and the next one was for $25,000, and she needs to use them this year, so that's what we're doing. We put in some paths at the golf course for $10,000. Petite Neat is going to get rose garden lights, and that's from the park tax, and that was actually budgeted last year, but they weren't able to get it in last year, and that's for $25,000. Next, we have architectural drawings for downtown, and that's going to be $25,000. And then we had an unexpected billing for water debt service reserve, and that's for $87,667. And then we got a grant for EDC Utah for $10,000 for a community survey. And finally, there's sanding and painting of the stage at the Petite Neat, and that's also from the park tax for $2,000 or $2,900. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. What we'd like to do now, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm going to accept a motion to open a public hearing from the council. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we open a public hearing.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded. Do we need a roll call? Okay, roll call vote, starting with Council Christensen,
Aye.
Council Hyatt,
Yes.
Council Prosgaard,
Yes.
Council Beecher.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. We'll go ahead and open to a public hearing. Please step to the mic if you have any comments for us. And also state your name and please speak clearly, very similar to the public forum. Please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. And if you agree or disagree with what you've just heard from our financial director, and please don't restate previous comments. So we'll open the public hearing. Doesn't appear anybody in the council chambers. Is there any online? Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. I'll accept a motion for that.
I'll move that we.
I'll make
close
the
public
motion that
hearing.
we close.
Okay, we have a motion from Council Prosgaard. Who wants to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and been second roll call vote, starting with Council Prosgaard,
Yes.
Council Beecher,
Yes.
Council Hyatt,
Yes.
and Council Christensen.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. So we have closed the public hearing. Council, is there any discussion on what we've heard as far as those amendments?
Mayor, I do have one.
Okay,
On the 2 trucks, the bids came in at 18,000 higher.
Kathy, could you explain that?
Yeah, explain that a little more to me.
So these 2 trucks are through the in and out program. So what we do is we sell the old vehicles to fund the new trucks. Anthony put in an estimate of what the new trucks would cost, and they actually came in higher than we originally budgeted. Does that
So-
make sense?
Combined
Yeah.
18,000 on both trucks.
Yeah, combined, yes. Not each.
I'm not straining in a net, but I'm just thinking that in the future, not telling anyone how to do their job, but since I buy and sell trucks a little bit, if we get a bid prior to from the actual dealer, we won't have to do this again.
Okay, yeah, we can pass that on to Anthony. He actually has done pretty well with the
Right.
in and out program. And I think he tries to get the best market he can for the vehicles. And then get the vehicles that he can. So you're right, though. We'll pass that on.
Just a suggestion.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Any other comments from the council? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
Motion to approve the, hang on. Motion to approve the amendments to the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion been seconded. Roll call vote, starting with Council Beecher,
Yes.
Council Prosgaard,
Yes.
Council Hyatt,
Yes.
and Council Christensen.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to number 2, resolution, appointments to the Park Tax Committee, and that's would be relegated to me. As I mentioned earlier in the meeting, the park tax is a very useful tax, and we've been able to do a lot of projects that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And we have a group of people that help us with recommending those projects to the council. And we had advertised for folks to be part of that. There were 2 of the members of the Park Tax Committee that their time was up and they had to reapply, which both of them did. And as a result, they were the ones that put their names in, and were tickled to death to have them once again. So I would present the names of Colleen Wilson and Devin Weaver to fill their slots again. Any discussion from the council?
I think they're doing a wonderful job, Mayor. I'm tickled with how we're allocating that park tax money. So I'm just tickled that they would want to continue on.
Yes, they're doing a great job. We appreciate them very much. Any other comments? Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
I move that we accept the appointments to the Park Tax Committee of Colleen Wilson and Devin Weaver.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion that has been seconded. Roll call required. Council Christensen,
Yes.
Council Hyatt,
Yes.
Council Prosgaard,
Yes.
Council Beecher.
Yes.
Thank you. It's unanimous. Motion carries. Okay. The next item that we have is a work session. Discussion regarding curb. Oh, one more thing before we do this. I do have some certificates. We have the names of those that were going to come in from the scouts, Sealy Estes and Remington Estes. Are they here tonight? Doesn't look like it. If they'll come in a future council meeting, and we'll honor them. Okay, we'll go ahead and go to the work session. Dave Tuckett, would you address us? And Travis, if you are mine to, whenever. Team do it.
Yeah, so Mayor and Council, this is a work session. If you will ask questions, we'll try to present some things, but there's always an effort, and we're trying to figure out how to it's mostly in the older part of town, get the curb gutter and sidewalk and the storm drain completed. All of the new developments that come in, they have to have their storm drain in, curb gutter and sidewalk. So it's mostly the older part of town. We are deficient in some of that. We do have a storm drain fee that we charge. We may need to up that to get some of these projects done. Councilman Christensen asked that we talk about this as well. So Travis has run some numbers as far as bonding and what estimated costs. They're really rough numbers, because to get into design, to figure out what driveways would need to be replaced, how to replace some of the infrastructure there. So they're pretty rough numbers, but it just shows what it would cost if we were to get the whole thing done and bond for it. Kathy's also run some numbers to show, if we were to raise the storm drain fee to to allow, say, each year an extra $250,000 to start working on these projects. Anyway, we've got some things we can talk about, but it is a discussion, those online as well. Let's talk about it and see what the council would like to see done. So Travis, do you want to start?
Yeah, have Travis start.
Go ahead if you want to start talking. I'll see if I can.
So like Dave said, these are rough because we have 42.6 miles of curb and gutter to put in or replace deep ditch. So that's why the numbers are so huge. You know, we don't know what right of way we would have to possibly buy, what fences are in the way, power poles, water meters, driveways would have to be tied into, sprinklers moved. So it is a rough guess, like Dave said, but that's why, is until you got into design and because you'd have to pay engineering firm to survey every one of these blocks, make sure where the right of way is, because all the parcels are shifted on the old area of the city. And then you would have to design it and design all the storm drain and how you're going to collect it and get rid of it. So, because obviously once we put curb and gutter in, now we've channeled the water and we have to put it somewhere. We can't just let it run off on the neighbor's lawn like we do now. So that's why it's $74.6 million is my estimate. That might be a little lower, obviously, once you got into the design, but I don't think it's still going to be lower than 65 million. So if you have any questions.
Quit that. You always give us high.
Hey, would you rather me tell you
amounts.
30 million and then it comes in at
Yes.
60?
That's what you did with the sewer plant.
I know.
And it worked.
That's why.
I'd rather have you do it high than come in low.
Well, these are way higher than the numbers that we had discussed in the
Yeah,
street.
Kent and I went over these and then we went over them with Dave. So I mean, like I said, they are rough. I think it would probably be a little cheaper, but it's not going to be 40 million. I mean, the engineering alone would be millions of dollars to design this. And that's what you'd have to do. You'd have to design a whole block at a time, because you can't just design one property at a time or you're not gonna have it work.
So how do we get to that point? What do we need to do? I'd like to put a plan in place. We've talked about it for 42 years.
I think it would be better to do, like, raise the rate up a certain amount and then dedicate that money that we're raising the rate to strictly do design and do a project.
Okay.
That's more palatable, because like Kathy was telling me, if we say we wanted to go bond for this, so say we want to go bond for $75 million, we would have to do this all in 3 years. There's no physical way we could put that much in 3
Infrastructure.
years. So
Right.
we couldn't even meet that requirement. So like, there's really no way to just eat the whole brontosaurus at one time. I'll call it that, because it's pretty big.
Yeah, I think the frustration is that there is a perception, and it's real, that we've kind of over a period of time, not us necessarily, but other councils, and maybe we'll be doing the same in some way, but would like to get something started and we can look at it each year, and at least there's something going on at the time with a goal of having it done.
Yeah, I think that would be more palatable to the user rate, is because like sidewalk, we can't spend out of storm rate. That would have to come out of streets. Well, right now, our only funding for streets is either the general fund or the BNC funds. So then that comes either out of taxes or the BNC increment. So, we're already trying to do what we can in the streets. So if we then do all this storm drain, I mean, my sidewalk estimate alone is $18 million for that same amount.
So what do we have? I mean, we got to look at some options. I mean, we had this conversation and we were looking at closer to 10 to 12 million and bumped it to 15, and now we're at 75. And so these numbers got out of hand real fast. But I see the infill projects coming in. Any undeveloped lands, subdivisions, things like that are starting to close these gaps that we're having. So as a general rule, I don't want to run out and say, oh, well, let's go pick this block that's in the middle of the city that doesn't have any houses on it, and we'll put curb gutter and sidewalk around it, because those are more likely to get developed and the developers will pay those costs. It's the old parts of town that don't have any other buildable land. You can't subdivide them. There's not enough property there and whatnot. How do we go about prioritizing those said projects. You know, how much do we need to raise the storm drain? Even if we were to head for the curb and gutter as just an option, let's look at that, because as it is right now, we don't have any other funds. We can't implement a transportation fee until the Supreme Court determines whether or not that's constitutionally allowed. But we can do the storm drains. We can do that storm drain fee. And right now, I think it's, well, what is it a month? Does anybody know? What's the storm drain fee? $674 a month. To me, that doesn't seem, you know, all that much to be doing what we're doing. The other question I was having is what do we consider, who pays that? Who pays that storm drain fee? So it's per residential unit, it's not per parcel number. And I wonder if that's maybe something we could shift. I know that I have an undeveloped parcel in the city of Payson that I don't pay that fee on because there's no house on it. You know, is that something we could look at? Because those definitely are the ones that we need to be looking at. They're the ones that are affecting it the most because there is no house on them. Is there a way to, I mean, shift that? I don't want to cause a ton more work, but I mean, I have a PI meter on there, but I don't have any other bills associated with that property. So
Yeah, usually the storm drain is through a home through a utility fee or a business. And some of the businesses that have more impervious surface
pay a different
they're
rate.
charge more because it's a residential equivalent, but
Right.
determine how much water comes out. So when the city council back in the 90s implemented that fee, the intent was to get a track record of that fee so that you go out and bond for a certain amount and get it done. We had an engineering firm, Perkins and Thurgood did a storm drain analysis back in the 90s. It was about 10 million to do that. The council didn't feel like there was money to do that. The next time the city did an evaluation, it was Solmus Engineering, I believe, and we have that study. That was 2002, 2003. That cost was about 23 million back at the time. So I'm not sure where the 10 to 15 million came from, but.
Well, we just based it. I'd just done a development. We knew what it was per linear foot of curb gutter and sidewalk times that by the 225,000 linear feet of undeveloped curb gutter and sidewalk. And so Travis went back and crunched numbers, and I liked my numbers before he actually did the math, you know, I mean, but so a little bit of an eye opener when we're looking, and we were just crunching numbers. Me and the engineers were standing on a street corner, throwing them out there, you know, and so those definitely aren't something that we can look at as an option.
Sorry, they got to turn this off. Yeah, and so the intent was to have a revenue stream so you could go out and bond. And we have done some projects. I know one of the biggest to help the old part of town, the biggest, we purchased some property out by the truck route to put a regional storm drain pond. And we've got that in the works and design. We purchased the property with the revenues that we had. I think we've got a number there to do that. It's about $1 million to finish the road. The developer's going to put part of the road in. We're changing the
configuration, and there was utilities under it. There's a lot of problems associated with that.
But we have built into that to finish that storm drain pond, and then we get the piping under the freeway. That's going to be big to finish that. That'll be a big part, and then we have to start chipping away. So
we could look at bonding for that. That might be, I think that's step one. Yeah, 800 West needs to be solved. It's definitely an issue.
Right.
And then I mean, I'm just trying to create a plan so it doesn't fall on deaf ears, you know, as we transition through councils, and then 10 years from now, they cuss me for it. But like maybe a projected, hey, what would it cost to do 3 city blocks a year? Right. And what would we have to raise the current rate to cover this? And I get a lot of pushback from this saying, well, why this benefits the homeowner that's there? Why should the the citizens carry that as a tax burden. And I always look at it being in the contracting business, woodworking business, whatever it might be. When you build a house, you build it to the standards for the time. And this standard of the sidewalk benefits the community. That's why we have them do it. But you wouldn't go in and have somebody change the shear paneling on their house 35 years later, which those codes have changed. So I think that's important to remember that we're not doing it for the home that's there. Yeah, it may increase the value, but we're doing it to make our community safe, that we can walk. You know, I'd hate to have children ran over because there was no sidewalks. And so, but I am not willing as a city council to bond for $75 million again.
Yeah.
We did that once. That was.
We're still in the process of doing that.
Yeah, so that it really does put it off the table. But if we jump that storm drain fee to $12, which is a huge jump to double it, would probably give us enough money with the growth that we have, residential units, everything like that. We could possibly start to do 2 or 3 city blocks a year.
And let me have Kathy go through. She did some calculations on how much revenue we could generate by raising it a certain amount. And
right.
Do you want to go through that, Kathy, or?
Yeah, so
Or I can bring this down to you.
okay, so initially we were talking about $200,000 a year just to get a good footprint in and let Ken do some work. So that's kind of where I started from. This year, we're using fund balance to balance the storm drain fund. So I assumed that we'd want to bring that up to 0 and then add an additional $200,000 to continue the project for a total of $535,000 a year. To do that, we would have to raise the storm drain up to $10.78 a month, which is $4.04 increase. And that would give us a little bit to get going on.
My question is how much curb gutter and sidewalk can we put in there? Because we have to use what's already there to continue on with we have operating costs.
We have
can't-
maintenance costs, yeah.
So whatever we do has to be above and beyond.
So what we can do with the bonding companies, we can take that $200,000 additional revenue, and they can tell us how much you could bond for that annual payment of $200,000 per year. And we could bond for that amount. The challenge with that, which is good, we could probably do a big project, but once you bond for that and do that project, that takes 20 years to pass that 200,000. So you'd pay that 200,000 for the next 20 years.
Right.
To pay that big bond off. So that would be a big project, or you take the 200 or 250,000 and say, we're going to do a 2-block area or 3-block area and not bond. But we can look at that. It's a good option to say for a bond payment of 200,000 every year, how much could we bond for to get more of this storm drain problem done?
Right.
Dave, Bob, Council Proscard, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
If we raised it to, I know we're way low in comparison to the other communities with our storm drain, is that correct? Do we know what $10.04 would do in comparison to the other communities?
Let's see if Kathy can find that on her computer. We did have that calculation at one time, but we probably are a little bit low compared to what other communities charge for their storm drain.
Seemed to me like we were significantly low.
I think the benefit of using the storm drain, it would be a benefit to the city as a whole. It would help the drainage problems wherever there is curb gutter and sidewalk even now. So
I am in total
Good
favor
justification.
of curb gutter and sidewalk, but I also realize we have other obligations with, we've still got a blank check sitting out there with the sewer plant. And so I'd like to eat this elephant, put a plan in place and eat this elephant one bite at a time. Instead of the $50 to $75 million. I totally favor finding some way to put capital in through the budgeting process and through our storm drain to fund that without having to go into serious bond and be obligated to come up with that for the next 20 years.
Yeah, I agree. So a little bit of a backpedal on my part, but to have that plan in place, I think is key. And if it was even came down to, you know, if we had that $200,000 a year, rather than just go out and doing a city block, would we be better to offer matching funds to the community? If you came in and you wanted to do curb, gutter and sidewalk, Payson City would pay for the curb and gutter, or curb gutter and half of the concrete cost, and then, or the asphalt tie-in. So we're right up to the back of the curb, if they're willing to put the sidewalk in and do all the other tie-ins. And then it becomes, because it's been on my mind, and I've driven around town and I look at it and I go, holy cow, I couldn't even imagine putting the sidewalk in at that house. I couldn't imagine doing it at this house. You know, I mean, I made the little widow lady next door cry more than once, because I come through there with my little mini X and tearing stuff out of her front yard to make room for curb, gutter and sidewalk. And if it's not something they really want, it's definitely an issue. But it's, as a community as a whole, we need to remember that we're a community and we need to strive for that sense of community. And so not everybody's going to come out happy. I know in Spanish Fork, they weren't happy when they did it there, but there's not a soul over there that doesn't like it now. And we bring Spanish Fork up all the time and wish we'd have done, shoulda, woulda, couldas, or a thing of the past. But so just, if we can implement a plan and set it up, come up with something, some way to offset those costs for the citizens to encourage it. But I don't know that they're going to be encouraged if there's not profit for them. We've talked about PIDs and different things, special infrastructure districts, or whatever the different things. Travis had to ruin my fun.
Well, what we can do, Councilman, is we can come up with numbers of you can't get a guaranteed number, because you know how the interest rates are going now and the bond rate.
Right.
So, but we can get a ballpark for a certain amount of revenue, how much we could bond for, but the other thing that I think is a good thing to do is get that in place. And I would recommend to the council that you wait until the next budget year to raise the storm drain fee, because we had to raise quite a bit, and the sewer
It was a lot.
rate is mandated by the state. We have to get that done. So
Right.
that it's a hard time right now, because of the way the interest rates have gone, the supply chain, it's driven costs way up. But I agree, we need to start working on this a bite at a time. It's probably too hard to take the whole elephant.
Right, but if we can create a plan and put it in, we look at this, what year was it that we started collecting these funds? If we would have gone to the $10 instead of the $674 where they were at, we'd have lots of money stowed away and ready to go. But
There were some other costs that we had to pay attention to as
The
well.
other thing,
I know.
the other thing, Councilman, is that previous councils did put some incentive in there to say, if you put your curb and gutter in, we'll do the asphalt tie and stuff. And that went away, but the streets department, they're going to bring something back to you to
Okay,
consider.
perfect.
If we can put that back in, or implement something to somewhat encourage property owners to put their curb, gutter and sidewalk in, and we help with it. So
I know we have our own paving machine, and it is the city's road. And so, I mean,
yep,
that would be great. I mean, developments wouldn't, somebody's developing, I don't think that would be the case. It's, you know.
So I think it's fair to say, Dave, that, and correct me if I'm wrong, council, is that we would love staff to have us bring some options to us at a future council meeting, and then we can have a debate on which option's the best.
yeah, we're happy to do that. We'll try to come up with some sort of a plan.
Bonding isn't an option. It's not.
Well,
I
not
would-
that
I
big,
would
not
think
that big
it's-
of an amount.
I would think as we go into the budget season, that we strongly consider this and have some good discussion and look at raising our storm drain fees, and see where we can go with the new budget year coming that we'll start working on right after the first of the year.
Sounds like a plan.
And I would recommend that we start now on getting a list of where we need to start with. There are areas that are worse than others that we need to work on it immediately, whereas there are other areas that we don't need to work on to begin with. And so I would suggest that the streets department come up with a prioritization of where things go. And that's part of what we do to begin with. And we can do that before we raise money.
Sure. And
So-
I think the SOMA study, the SOMAS engineering study is probably still pretty accurate. I know it was 2002 or whatever, but most of the storm drain issues we have are the old part of town.
Yeah,
And so
the
I think it's
topography
probably
hasn't
still
changed.
fairly current, maybe not the numbers and things, but I think we can start there with the projects they proposed.
Well, I think the thing that spurred this for me was as we were doing this development, we put in a $15,000 cistern that caught water from 107 feet of property. And to me, I was like, this needs to be put where it capitalizes on the engineering. And I know we can't use impact fees for existing infrastructure shortfalls, but can we look at this and say, what do we consider an existing shortfall? If the engineering plan says, hey, this catch basin has to be here and one here, otherwise it causes redundancy. And I mean, we don't want more in the ground catching water than we really honestly need. So, I mean, can we implement that and maybe look at that and say, hey, you know what, I mean, if this is what the development requires, you go this far, we can use impact fees to get the water where it needs to. I know it's a deficiency, and I know I'm always trying to circumvent what we really consider a deficiency, but if you come in, but the problem is if you go in and build a 4-story apartment building and you've taken all that asphalt and you put the asphalt in, it now runs from that parking lot to where, and is that where we really want the water to catch, is underneath a 4-story apartment building, or do we need to get it X amount of distance away on an engineering basis so that we're not weakening the ground where we have infrastructure or things of that nature that might be a problem? Does that make sense? I can see the need to get the water away from where it might be because of the new build, not as an existing infrastructure problem.
We actually do exactly the opposite of what you just said.
I know you do. That's why I said it.
But the reason is we don't have, see, when we did our master plans, Bowen and Collins did our storm drain master plan, and that was a struggle because we don't have a regional system like most cities, because we don't have outfalls to put it into. So we had to just say, well, you're gonna have to just retain it on each piece of property, because we don't have like a regional pond that we could say, hey, go put a 36-inch pipe in for a mile, and then everyone can tie into that and get to the big pond.
Which we're working on right now, right?
And just to clarify, the $15 million came from 8th West when we told you that it would take to go from 8th South to 1st South under the freeway to where this new pond was. That's where the 15 million came from.
It was only 6, but see, this is why we have these work sessions. It doesn't really matter what I said. I'm now on record and I have to believe what you tell me. No, and you know what's kind of interesting is that as you're talking about that, here I am, I always come up with thinking outside the box. I don't see why we couldn't create storm drain retention ponds that we could then pump back to our PI system. You know, I know that there's a lot of cities that reuse sewer system and stuff like that. I mean,
no, not a good idea.
Kirk says that's a bad idea, and I'm not going to argue with that engineer.
Okay, I think you've got a mandate. Let's take a look from what Kirk says, look at the worst needs, and then take a look at the cost.
We'll try to bring some options to you. We appreciate the discussion and
I appreciate your time.
Recommendation.
Well, most of it.
I just noticed we have some scouts that come. Are these the Estes? We got them.
Yeah. You want to sign and have one of the.
Yep, I'll sign them.
And we can bring them up and present that to them.
Better pass that to Teresa. I don't have a pen.
Sign it. Would you please? Do you want to present them?
Yeah, go ahead.
Gentlemen, come on up. I'd like to present you with these certificates of attendance.
Then we're going to kick you out.
Would you mind if you take them with you? Sure. See you. Congratulations.
Could we share the screen back to the council chambers for those of us online?
We lost the video, by the way.
This in advance.
Oh,
yes. Okay, wonderful.
Want to jump down there and have a picture taken? See anybody want to?
Better.
No. Have you had a certificate already? Oh, okay, good. Dave, you gonna take a picture? I am.
That is wonderful that they made it tonight. Thank you, boys.
Thank you. Congratulations. Shake hands. Council. Thank you. Sadie, come on back up. I was tying my hands.
Okay. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you coming. Dave?
Mayor, the last item is a closed session. If you go into a closed session, we just have a property discussion with you.
Good. I'll take a motion for going into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion been seconded, requires a roll call vote. Council Christensen,
Yes.
Council Hyatt,
Yes.
Council Postcard,
Yes.
Council Beecher.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for coming out.
Okay, we're out of the closed session and I'll accept a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion been seconded. Roll call again. Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's unanimous. We're adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.